The entire restaurant sparkled with balloons and streamers, but at the center table, a little girl sat motionless, her eyes locked on the untouched cake in front of her. Emma turned 9 that day, yet not a single guest had shown up. The music played, waiters hovered, but no one approached. She was the daughter of billionaire tech CEO Richard Blake, famous, powerful, and utterly alone. Ever since the car accident left Emma paralyzed from the waist down, invitations dwindled. Kids didn't know what to say. Parents whispered behind polite smiles. And now, her birthday was just another quiet moment in a life full of silent goodbyes. Until a man in a flannel shirt and jeans hesitated by the entrance. A little boy clung to his hand, his eyes wide with curiosity as he stared at the untouched cake. "Dad," he whispered, tugging, "why is she sitting alone?" The man looked over, then, without asking permission, walked straight to Emma's table. "Hi there," he said gently. "This seat taken?" Emma blinked, startled. She shook her head slowly. "I'm Noah," the man continued. "This is my son, Max. We didn't get an invite, but can we join you?" Emma's lips trembled into the faintest smile. She nodded. From the corner, Richard Blake watched with furrowed brows. The most expensive party he'd ever planned had just been saved by a stranger in second-hand shoes. And for the first time in a long while, his daughter was laughing. Max didn't wait for a formal invite. He grabbed a party horn from the table and blew it with delight, making Emma giggle. Her laughter, so light, so real, echoed through the quiet corners of the high-end restaurant. Noah sat down slowly, unsure of how a billionaire might react to an uninvited guest. But Emma didn't care about status. For the first time that day, someone wasn't treating her like she was broken. "Want me to help with the candles?" Max asked. Emma hesitated. "I can't. I used to blow them out myself." Noah leaned in. "Then we'll do it together. No rules here." With Max's hand over hers and Noah steadying the chair, they leaned in and blew. One big puff. The flames flickered out. Applause erupted from staff. A waiter clapped. One even whistled. At the far end of the room, Richard finally stood. He watched the way Emma's eyes sparkled, how her shoulders weren't hunched in that usual quiet sadness. He walked over, clearing his throat. "Thank you for joining us," he said awkwardly. Noah rose respectfully. Didn't mean to intrude. Just didn't want her to spend it alone. Richard paused, words catching in his throat. "Most people don't see past the wheelchair." "I used to think the same," Noah replied, "until my wife got sick. We lost her last year. Since then, Max and I see people for who they are." Emma looked up at Max and whispered, "This is the best birthday I've ever had." Max beamed. "Can we be friends now?" Emma nodded. Richard looked at the two kids, one rich, one ordinary, and felt something shift inside. Maybe love didn't wear labels. Maybe it just showed up when it mattered most. The next day, Emma asked her father a question that caught him off guard. "Dad, can Max and his dad come over? I want to show them my tech lab." Her voice was full of hope, something Richard hadn't heard in a while. He'd spent millions on doctors, therapy, and machines, but never on friends. Later that afternoon, Noah's rusted pickup rolled up the long driveway of the Blake estate. The sprawling mansion looked more like a museum than a home. Noah stepped out, his worn sneakers crunching on the marble-tiled entrance. Inside, Emma proudly wheeled over to Max. "Come on, I want to show you something cool." She led him to a glass-walled room lined with screens, voice command toys, and robotic arms. "I designed this," she said shyly, "to help kids like me move things, draw, even play games." Max's eyes went wide. "This is like superhero stuff." Richard stood silently behind them, watching the way Emma glowed. Not because of the machines, but because someone saw her. No one noticed. "She's brilliant. This kind of tech could help a lot of families." Richard nodded. "I created an empire, but I forgot what really matters. My daughter's heart has more power than anything I've ever built." That evening, they all sat down for dinner, burgers, not caviar. Max and Emma laughed between bites, while Richard and Noah talked like old friends. And then, Emma said something that silenced the room. "Dad, I don't need a bigger party next year. I just need people who care." Richard reached for her hand, gently. "Then we'll make sure you have exactly that." Outside, The sun dipped below the hills, but inside that home, something brighter had just begun to rise. A week later, Emma insisted on visiting Max's world. No suits, she warned her father. Just jeans, and maybe smile a little. So Richard left behind his private driver, wore sneakers for the first time in decades, and drove with Emma to a modest two-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city. Max greeted them barefoot, waving Emma in excitedly. "I cleaned my room," sort of, he said, brushing crumbs off his bed. Emma laughed. "It's perfect." Noah brewed coffee for Richard in a chipped mug. "Sorry, no gold-plated cups here," he joked. Richard chuckled, surprised by his own ease. "This is actually nice." Emma and Max played on the living room floor, just two kids surrounded by puzzles and crayon drawings. No technology, no spotlight, just laughter. But then, Emma's hands trembled slightly. Her voice wavered. "I'm getting tired." Max looked confused. "Do you need your chair?" She nodded, smiling weakly. Noah quickly helped her into it. Richard stepped in, concern flashing across his face. "I'm okay, Dad," Emma whispered. "It's just, my muscles get weaker some days." The room fell silent. Then Max asked, "Will you get better?" Emma hesitated. "They say no, but I'm still hoping." Noah knelt beside Max. "Hope is the strongest thing we've got, buddy." Richard blinked back emotion. He tried to buy strength, engineer solutions, control outcomes. But sitting in that humble apartment, watching his daughter embraced by warmth money couldn't buy, he saw it clearly. This friendship wasn't a gift he gave her. It was one she had found for them all. "Thank you," Richard said quietly to Noah, "for seeing her when no one else did." Noah smiled. "Sometimes, the ones we need most arrive when we least expect." Autumn leaves crunched beneath the wheels of Emma's chair as she rolled through the park, Max at her side, waving a paper kite in the air. Nearby, Noah and Richard sat on a bench, sipping hot cocoa from paper cups. "I never imagined this," Richard said softly. "A friend for Emma. A friend for me." Noah smiled. "Sometimes broken roads lead to better places." A light breeze lifted Max's kite, and Emma laughed as it danced above the trees. Her voice rang with joy. Not the forced kind, but the free, open kind that had been missing for so long. A few steps away, a young boy stared curiously at Emma's wheelchair. His mother tugged his arm, whispering, "Don't stare, sweetheart." But before the boy could walk away, Emma waved him over. "Want to try the voice controls?" she asked, pointing to a small joystick on her armrest. The boy lit up. "Can I really?" She nodded and guided him, showing how she'd programmed the chair's tech. Slowly, more children gathered, drawn not to her chair, but to her brilliance. Richard watched, stunned. For the first time in years, Emma wasn't being pitted. She was being admired. Later that night, back at the mansion, Emma wheeled into Richard's office. "Dad, what if we created a center for kids like me, with tech and friends, and no one feels left out?" Richard stared at her, heart full. "Let's build it. Together." 1 year later, on Emma's 10th birthday, the doors opened to Emma's Place, a center for inclusion, innovation, and joy. And this time, the room was full. Not just of kids and cake, but of something far greater, belonging. Sometimes it only takes one voice, one friend, one moment of kindness to change everything.